Welcome back to Tipping Point. I'm your host, Kara McKinney. Imagine being a veteran waiting for care, and then you hear that top VA senior executives decide to give themselves nearly $11 million in essentially fraudulent bonuses. In fact, a decade ago, the VA Inspector General found that over 300,000 veterans died before their applications for care were ever processed. That doesn't mean that all 307,000 were actively seeking care and that they would have lived had they had their application processed in time, because old age and death do happen to us all, no matter what. But how many of those veterans were actively trying to receive the care they needed for an active medical issue they were suffering and therefore had their lives cut needlessly short? Well, that report comes to mind while reading about this latest bonus scandal, in which 182 senior executives received between $39,000 and over $100,000 each through a program which was designed to recruit more highly skilled employees to deal with the VA recruitment shortage. The corruption was first identified internally back in September, but 8 months later, and the money still hasn't been recouped yet. Part of the problem is that many of these senior executives have already spent their bonuses, and so they don't have the cash on hand to reimburse the department. Though I will mention here that plenty of actually impoverished veterans get nickeled and dimed to death by this department all the time, even for paperwork or payment discrepancies that aren't their fault at all. So if the VA really wanted to, I think they could get their money back. Anyway, joining us now to discuss is John Burns, a senior advisor for Concerned Veterans for America. John, thanks for being here tonight.
Thanks for having me on, Kara.
Chris, your organization is calling for resignations in the wake of the scandal. Talk to us about that.
So the VA Undersecretary for Health and the VA Undersecretary for Benefits, Einhall and Jacobs are their names, they gave out over $11 million in bonuses last year based on the PAC Act and what the PAC Act was supposed to do. The PAC Act was designed with this money, this account was designed to, as you mentioned, hire frontline VA providers and to go directly to the veterans who suffered from burn pits and other toxic exposures overseas. Instead, these two undersecretaries decided that they should give it out to their senior-most employees. One of them, when pressed on it, didn't even know how many employees were in the department. There were 105 senior executive service members in that department who got bonuses.
And of course, they're saying that, well, a lot of this money's already been spent. We're going to try and recoup some of it. But, here we are, I think, even 8 months later on that process. And it's not exactly happening. And I know, as you and I have talked about before, there are veterans. One story comes to my mind specifically. I think you and I even talked about it months ago. But there was a man, and he was getting his VA benefits, but then also, I believe, Social Security. And something had happened where he wasn't allowed to receive both for some reason. And this man was very impoverished. He's an elderly man. He has a lot of medical ailments. And the VA system said, well, tough luck. We think we've overpaid you. And again, this is a man that has not even a penny to his name, essentially. But they're telling him that he's been overpaid for however many years. And so they were cutting back on the benefits. And again, this man barely has even the bare necessities that he needs to live. And this was not his fault whatsoever. In this specific story, he had provided them all the documented evidence saying, I've never lied. I've never, misconstrued anything. Any paperwork error was solely on your guys' side. They didn't care. They got their money back, and they didn't care what that did to that poor veteran. So when you hear some of the excuses being made now that this was just a mistake, there was some oversight, the left hand wasn't talking to the right hand on this matter, and well, guess we'll just have to deal with the money loss. I mean, what comes to your mind when you hear some of these excuses from the VA on the scandal?
It's par for the course for them, right? We talked a few weeks ago about it being the 10th anniversary of the Phoenix VA scandal, which involved bonuses and lying. And we're still faced 10 years later with a VA that is more concerned with giving bonuses to its employees than it is about telling the truth about what's going on in the institution, and certainly about providing timely quality care to the veterans. Folks who are interested in this can go to www.cv4a.org and take action, right? Just click our Take Action button. There's a couple of places on there where you can send messages to your senators and your congressman or congresswoman and telling them to get the VA's act together.
And as you bring up with the Phoenix scandal, can you refresh our memories on that? Because it seems that there are definitely some parallels there.